All right, welcome to another episode of EAM Experts. Now we are back with Terrence O'Hanlon. Thank you, Terrence, for joining us once again.
Well, we had such a great time the last time we had a conversation. So, it was just fun. I forgot that there was an interview going on. So it was a great time, and I'm really excited to be back. You guys are awesome to talk to.
Yeah, unfortunately, last time they cut us short, so now we want to talk about some things that, help us keep updated in the maintenance world. So we also have Renee with us. Renee, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ernesto. Hey, Terrence, always good to be here, and Ernesto as well. I like your shirt, Terrence. Are you like in different, verses at the same time? What's going on?
I am. In fact, I think I'm on the EAM Experts podcast right now, literally in another universe. It's just to the left of here. So that's a lot of fun. And in a way, that is a very accurate, that's a very accurate description. There's a digital twin of me on EAM Experts right now. And that's the way we should look at our assets in the future. We're going to get a physical asset, and we're also going to get the twin of it. We are going to get the digital asset. What are we going to do with it? Where are we going to put it? Is it fit for purpose? Is it what we really want to do? Are we going to pay the vendor to keep it for us? There's so many issues that come up with it. So, I know people roll their eyes because, all these IT analysts, hype up the digital twin and IoT and metaverse, but it's here. And sorry to get out in front of the interview, but I mean, groups like Hexagon, 3D reality modeling. I just saw a video in Orlando by the Hexagon team, and Spot the robot is walking through laser spotting everything, doing a little thermal imaging, and not just Spot, but I mean, walking through the model of the plant as well. And so, super interesting times that we're in. We've been so used to just the physical universe, and now this digital universe is opening up for us. And I'm not even sure that we're ready to ask the right questions in the digital universe, because they're different. They're facing forward. They're about tomorrow, and as maintenance and reliability and asset management professionals, we've made a living in the last couple of decades, kind of looking over our shoulders, looking in the rear view mirror. And it's different times now.
For sure.
Right. So today the conversation is mostly around a couple of certifications that you guys work with, right? So I don't know, is there an association? I'm seeing a very nice background on your screen. Is that part of it?
That's a part of it. It's sort of, I weave my time nowadays between three groups. One group is Reliabilityweb, which everybody knows us from because we started publishing. You couldn't Google Reliabilityweb in the beginning because we started about 4 years before Google. I have in my email somewhere from one of the founders of Google asking me if I was interested in IPO stock. And I'm like, who's going to beat AOL? How's that possibly going to be? And who's going to, how could Yahoo be displaced as the number one search engine? No way. I think Yahoo was like an index at that time. It was like a rigid index. I mean, I wish people could go back and see that time. And, I thought about it the other day. I thought if I would have bought 100 shares of Google on IPO, you guys might have a little harder time reaching me here. I don't know you.
Hey, maybe in the other multiverse, right?
Maybe in the other multiverse, I could go back and shift time. But so yeah, certifications. I've always been involved with certification. So, prior to starting Reliabilityweb, I was the CEO of a company called UE Systems. A lot of people know it with airborne ultrasound leak detection, steam traps, bearings, and things of that nature. And I created a couple of companies while I was there as CEO. One was called UE Training Systems, Inc. And then one was called, get ready for this, Centrally Controlled Industrial Certification Network. And what the idea was at that time, who was doing all these technical certifications was an organization called ASNT. And they had developed a standard SNT TC1A. I'm only being geeky for those that are really super interested in certification. We at the centrally controlled industrial certification sort of took it, and what was the difference is that was employer-based certification. So if you worked for one of the big oil companies or one of the big power companies, they had to certify you. And they had, that was not such a big deal, but they had to put all the machinery of certification, all the infrastructure of certification management on board. And that's how, things were certified back in the day, so to speak. And so we thought that's their robustness of the integrity of the certification was fantastic. We just borrowed the concept and said, instead of it being employer-based, we're going to make it transportable so it stays with the individual. It's centrally controlled. So we set up an organization to do so, and we started the very first ultrasound, level 1, level 2, level 3 in those days is what it was called. And off we went, and we started doing it with other technologies. Eventually, I think I told you the story, AT&T came to me, and I went down and worked with them in Bell Laboratories and created reliability, created the early beginnings of the stuff I do on the web right now. So out in the world I went, not really doing training and certification, but sort of always following it, so always tracking it. And in 2010, I created the very first version of Uptime Elements. If you go back and look at it, it's got some great things about it. It's got some things that weren't so great. And eventually I brought it around in about 2013 to sort of similar to what it is today. And then it really took off. A lot of companies started to use it and, wanted to be trained on it. So we developed some commercial training around what's called Uptime Elements, Reliability Framework and Asset Management System. 5 domains: reliability engineering for maintenance, asset condition management, work execution management, leadership for reliability, and asset management. And we developed training around it and certification around it. All right, now I'm going to revert back to certification geek. In ISO speak, and using the international standards, ISO 17024 is a certification and competency of organizations that sort of provide that type of service. They want to see separate organizations. In other words, the training organization separate from the certifying organization. So like now when you do ultrasound, there's a number of places where you can go and, get the training, but there's actually with that particular one, there's no central place to do it anymore. But with like vibration, you can move around to different bodies to get certified and stuff like that. But the training is commercially separate from the certification to avoid conflicts of interest. So that was a long-winded way of coming back around to say the Association of Asset Management Professionals, it does 2 things. One thing it does is certification. It manages a certification program to the intent of ISO 17024. It also is a community, and it was a community before it was certification. So it's an online community with forums and really deep in the asset condition managing world. So it runs a certification called Certified Reliability Leader, CRL, and Certified Maintenance Managers, CMM. I'll stop there because I've been talking and see if you want to get a question in about either one of those certifications.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Terrence, and I appreciate it. So let's say I was living under a rock or in another multiverse where this didn't exist, right? So let me see if I can put it in layman terms. So I would say, if I needed training, right, so get trained and get the knowledge, I will go to reliabilityweb.com, right? That's where I would get the training. Right. But if I wanted to get certified, then I will go to the Association of Management Professionals, right? So that's right, where I would be able to come in and then get certified. So basically 2 entities with 2 distinct purposes. And then on top of that, I understand that you also run a conference, which is the IMC, that runs at the end of the year, that basically brings everybody together to get either some training and again, networking and other stuff like that. Did I say it right, or can you
Yeah,
correct me?
pretty close. The one distinction I might say is the Association of Asset Management Professionals is well, in the United States, it's called a 501c3 or a not-for-profit corporation. So it's all about its mission and staying alive. I mean, it has to have some sort of revenue to pay its rent and pay its phone bills. Sprint doesn't give out not-for-profit cell phone plans, so it's a not-for-profit. So its mission is really just to fulfill those two functions. Reliabilityweb is a for-profit company. So we do a lot of other more commercial activities like training, like publishing, and the other business is the conferences. We acquired the International Maintenance Conference in its 17th year from a small group of volunteers who had it, and they could no longer, they were overwhelmed with it. So we acquired the conference and brought it in. It was small, it was 80, 90 people when they had it. We took it the first year in Clearwater, Florida, IMC 2003, and it was, I don't know, about 700 people showed up there at Clearwater. And, there were other maintenance conferences around, good ones, really good ones. Some of them were restricted. Some of the early associations didn't allow vendors, if you could believe that at the time.
Wow.
It was like a country club, and only if you were, turning wrenches all day long or something could you go to this conference. And, in one way, it made everybody wanted to go, because you couldn't go. So there was like this forbidden fruit at that conference. But eventually it opened up. And I think we helped open it up because we started the International Maintenance Conference. And because we were on the web, and you got to, it sounds so obvious now, but, in 2003, it was not as obvious. 50% of our audience in English speaking was outside the United States, and almost 80% of our Spanish speaking audience was outside the United States. So, when we did this conference, yes, we had great participation from the United States. But my favorite part of the conference is we eventually had 1,400 people from 60 different countries coming. And, I keep a pretty close ear in America to what the story is and what, I love. My favorite presentations, all my deepest learning has really come from the practitioners from around the world that I don't really know what they know. I don't really know what they're thinking. I don't really know what their local standards are and what their national standards are, and whose kind of thought processes are dominating. And I find that to be like a rich tapestry in the community that I don't see other places. I really like the fact that it is a blended community and the wisdom comes from around the world. So yeah, it's a networking learning conference. It's got, and I want to follow up with it because you're in the technology business, a lot of technology, a lot of commercial technology, and, really on what we consider tech side. It used to be more hardware and gadgets and things of that nature. But, if you look at like your average customers, used to be 20 years ago, they spent money on CapEx for new assets, and then a certain amount of money on OpEx, on maintaining and operating those assets. That was their mix. Now, if you look, it's CapEx, IP, and OpEx. So in other words, what's becoming information, what's becoming digital data, processes, connected data, models, simulations. That used to be 1%, then 2%, then 11%. Now it's in your average industrial customer, that industrial intellectual property, that's 17, 18, 19, sometimes 30% of the investment that's being made. Things have changed. And, whether we're all ready for it or not, I'm not sure. There seems to be sort of, some people still hoping to do maintenance and reliability and asset management without a lot of data. And then there seems to be the people who are really getting their act together with data. And, it's jaw dropping, the difference. I mean, the performance difference is miraculous. So we try to tell that story. And I'll say one last thing and pause, is that it's harder now because the innovations come at a pace that, from 1980 to 1981, trust me, there just wasn't that much innovation in maintenance and reliability, you know, and so we could cover it quite easily. We didn't have to have a newspaper, size staff to cover it of crack reporters all around the world. We could pretty much figure out where the innovation was. But now, and you see it too, in your end of the world, it's 2, 3, 4 augmented reality, metaverse, digital twin, AI, machine learning, IoT, wireless sensor, wireless sensors. The technology is moving at some crazy pace. And Ernesto looks like he's still got some black hair, but you and I are ours is faded a little bit. And are we ready? Are we ready to put the context of our knowledge and experience to people who are so natively digital and natively data oriented, when we've been relying on our engineering skills, we've been relying on our experience, and I don't think the new generation wants that. I think they like the experience and they like the engineering, but I think they want data. I think they're so used to always having data, and the area you and I, all of us, have chosen is not known for spectacular data. So we have some challenges in front of us, and that's what we're all about. We want to create, at the end of the day, if you're not reliable and you're not advancing asset management, you're not going to be safe as you can be. You're not going to be as sustainable as you can be, and you're not going to be as successful as you can be. You can get by, and if the profit margin is big enough and everything, but I would say now, if you're not keeping up with that technology investment in your company, you are going to fall behind, because your competitors are now not just buying assets, they're buying assets and they're building intellectual property. And that intellectual property is becoming an integrated part, CapEx, IP, OpEx. And it never used to be like that. And that's the big change. So we have a lot to talk about. I should be retired down in the Bahamas somewhere about now, but I'm too excited. I can't. You'll have to kick me out of here. I'll be one of those old guys with the walker and the oxygen tank, and then Renee will say, Terry, come on, it's time to sit down here.
We'll make sure that we have a digital twin of the walker, but anyway,
I love that. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Who knows? It will be motorized, or who knows what's going to happen then. But let's say that I'm coming from my other multiverse, right? And I don't know about the CMMN, the certified maintenance manager, and the CRL, the certified reliability leader. And let's say, I got grease under my nails and I'm just coming in, and why should I invest? Why should I get interested in it? What's in it for me? And can you explain a little bit about those two certifications?
Yeah, and they're very different. They're naturally together, but they're also very, very different from each other. The certified reliability leader is like context, and I know that might sound a little confusing, but we don't try to change. A lot of what goes on in maintenance and reliability is really good. So we're not trying to reinvent all the good stuff that's going on. But even though the techniques we have, like RCM or PMO or criticality analysis, or now using CMMS and maintenance planning, scheduling, even though those are excellent approaches, they fail to generate sustainable business success 70, 80% of the time. Nothing at all wrong with the approaches. So then why is it? Why is it that it works in the bottling company in Atlanta, but when we go to the petrochemical company in Mexico, it doesn't work as well? What changed? What was different about it? And we say the context, the context of something is the way we hold it, what we believe it to be, so to speak. So culture is a really powerful context in most companies. This is how it happens. This is how it has to happen. This is the way we've always done it. What are you doing telling me to do something new over here? This is how we've always done it. So CRL is sort of about going up the mountain, seeing the whole connected picture of maintenance, reliability, and asset management, where they sit on the value chain, so to speak. What parts of them are technical? What parts of them are human and organizational, how they work together, how you need technology to empower them. But it stops at what is it So what is vibration analysis and why do you need it in a reliability approach? It does not teach you vibration analysis. It teaches you enough to be a little bit dangerous so you can act like you know what you're talking about. But it's just really the buzzword. So it creates a context, and what it does for enterprises is it locks a language. So it locks the concepts in the language. Doesn't mean you even have to agree with it, but now you've calibrated to that framework, and you can calibrate your disagreements to the framework. But at least the stone of the strategy is not moving; it's set in place, and we can all calibrate off of that. And that's been really incredible. So CRL is kind of like you become a journey, a Sherpa, a guide. Guiding yourself or guiding your teammates. It's all about the journey and really recognizing what's going on with the journey in the context of your organization. So the framework's designed for you to take back. You can't make your organization change. You take Uptime Elements and meet them where they are. And it slowly replaces the paradigms that they've got right now that might be sub-optimizing reliability, sub-optimizing. And so it's more of an empowerment. So it's sort of like a change management combined with a primer, combined with a bunch of things. But it's designed to change context and guide a journey. What we noticed with the maintenance management was, at least in the US and in some other countries, the people that get to be maintenance managers didn't graduate maintenance management school. They came up because they were a mechanical engineer.
They were very good at what they were doing at that
point. They were really good at, and so, we identified 18 skill sets that we think a maintenance manager has to have to run the business of maintenance. And most maintenance managers we know, I love them all. So if you're listening, don't send me any cards or postcards, but they have 4 or 6 of those skills, or 3 of them, or they're super strong in 6 and they're kind of understand 4 more, but hardly anybody has 18. And we just hadn't seen a discipline. So we actually dive into the how-to of the business of maintenance. So it's a little bit of reliability, a little bit of asset management, a little bit of the leadership, but a lot of I've got all this work I've got to execute. I've got to deliver the capacity of these assets. I've got to deliver the designed in availability. I've got to deliver the designed in reliability through my maintainability. Now, so in theory, if the maintainability was designed in, I can do that. And we just want to make sure that they're not falling short of the designed, maintainability, sustainability, safety, and we're giving them the skills so that when the reliability and availability sort of handed over at commissioning, they're in position to realize all the maintainability and sustainability and safety and function that asset was designed to deliver. But they have to do that with a very aligned plan, from the early asset stages and from the reliability engineers, and they have to stay in communication. So, I know that's a lot of yeah. It's hard. Maintenance management is hard, and you have the weight of the world. It's like you're starting the fire department for New York City. So many different structures to worry about, so many different behaviors to worry about, so many different responsibilities. It's really one of the hardest jobs around because you have both physics and the second law of thermodynamics working against you, and it seems sometimes like you have everybody in the organization working against you because they're all adding defects into the system that eventually you will be dealing with. They're not your fault. You're not a cause for them, but you will be dealing with them because somebody's got to put the system back online when it comes down. You didn't make it go offline, but everybody's yelling at maintenance. Why is the reliability like that around here? Well, because we work with a wood products company, and every once in a while, they put every 100 trees, they put this metal spike in the tree. Sometimes they forget to take it out before it goes into the sawmill. When that hits the saw, that thing's down for 4 hours until they change it. That's not a maintenance issue. At a refinery, the commercial buyers were buying high sulfur crude. They had to replace the pipes after that. That's not a maintenance issue. So many of what maintenance has, so much of what maintenance has to deal with is not caused by maintenance, but hey man, that's the business. So you better have a way to deal with it. So you start with your world's most perfect plan, and then the first shot gets fired, the plan goes off to the side, and you need that foundation. It's so dynamic. You need the tools to be able to make the decision. Now with that combined with kind of the data that that is being provided by the new technology manufacturers and providers and stuff, that combo should be great. Data will save us. Data will drive us ultimately to the right decision. But if we start with really good processes, it's going to be even better and quicker. Eventually we'll get our, even if you don't know anything, eventually the data will take you there if you can survive long enough. But let's go ahead and get the foundations in place. So with CMM, it's about making sure that you understand all 18 parts of managing a business called maintenance.
Okay, so if I say it in my simple terms, it will be, if I am a maintenance manager with the CMMN, I should be able, what skills do I have or lack and need to develop? But
Right.
then with the CRL, the Certified Reliability Leader, then I'm going to be able to see where I am in that journey. So whether I'm starting in the middle or high, I know where I'm, I can locate myself and then figure out next steps. So one, it's going to take care of my skills and be able to understand, so I can understand myself better. And the other one is really where where are my assets and my performance. And I think in this day and age, Terrence, with everything that's going on, I mean, like you said, it's really, really, really hard job. I mean, sometimes I go into the meetings with some of my customers, and honestly, the first thing I do, it's, hey guys, let's calibrate, right? Let's blow off some steam, because it is so stressful. I mean, and then like you said, they're not necessarily, if everything is running fine, nobody's sending them emails, thank you, because we have no no urgency. They don't get that. I think it's because they get, there's a lot out there, right? So they have less people, they have more data, but sometimes they don't know what to do with the data, right?
That's right. That's right. Because they don't have their that 70% failure rate that I mentioned earlier is really a lot because they don't have a strategy and a plan. They don't have a formal strategy and a plan. So almost, the other exception I'd say to which I love your descriptions, spot on. The one I might add to CRL though, as I listen, is even if your job is doing the lubrication route, once you get done with CRL, you're going to be the smartest guy on the team. When it comes to strategy, when it comes to, are we doing things that are delivering the company's objectives by doing this, you're going to see that you can't not see anymore. So it compels you to then take a stand to say, I'm going to create a new future, an intentional future that wasn't going to happen anyway. I'm going to stand in this future because I know what the right thing to do is here. And I work out of integrity. I work from my word, and I'm going to express my word here. And, sometimes some companies don't really want that, and they're not ready for that journey. But the CRL always finds their way to a group that is ready to take their stand, our word. When you look up reliability, you don't see Reliabilityweb. You see the reliability of the research report, the reliability of biblical stories. You see reliability in a completely different context. You might go down 18 before you get to Reliabilityweb. Drives me crazy, but but reliability, think about that. Reliability is our word. If we can't be reliable in our word, how are we going to be reliable with our assets? And so that's sort of the kind of stuff. It's not morals, it's not ethics, it's what works effectively for business. So when I talk about integrity, I'm not trying to preach about, be honesty. And, the honesty is a gray area of slippery slope. We call integrity, do what you say you're going to do. Simple. That's our simple explanation. And when you don't, clean up the mess. I know I said I'd be here at 3. I was here at 3:05. I hope I didn't cause you any inconvenience. I was looking for the link, but the excuse doesn't really matter. What matters is that if I said I was going to be here at 3 and I was here at 3:05, I'm out of integrity with my word. So one of the most difficult things for people is to they easily see when you're out of integrity. They just don't see when they're out of integrity. And so, when we do that work, it's about showing you in the mirror, you were born into this thing called human being. You're going to sometimes shirk your responsibility. You are going to sometimes be out of integrity. You're not going to do what you said you were going to do. You need a mechanism to restore it. And if you do it all the time, you're never going to be able to restore it. But, if you're reasonable and, I'm late once, you're going to let me have a chance to make it up. If I'm late 100 times, you're going to just say, you can't count on this guy. You can't count on his word. Now, how am I going to lead reliability? I'll have a hard time. I might do it, but I'm going to have a hard time doing it. And so we're just talking about business performance. Business works better when people do what they say they're going to do. And if they don't, they clean up the mess and they acknowledge that, okay, I sometimes drift from integrity. So you fill the bucket up a little bit more, fill it up a little, go overboard on integrity. It's not going to hurt you. And so that kind of stuff, we're trying to empower people to realize don't wait for the white knight to come and save your reliability program. No one's coming. No one is coming. It is up to you. Oh, well, I'm just one person and I work for an organization with 300,000 people in it. That's right. I have seen that before. I have seen it start with one person and get to all 300,000. So get started. Let's go. And they will get there. If they go in with the right intent and they stand in the right place, reliability is irresistible. You cannot resist it. And so if you're being resisted, you need to come to CRL, because the thing you'll learn in there is how to stand in without worrying about the answer. Why is reliability being resisted here? Why? And starting with that and not rushing to any answer. So now you have the space to have it start showing up. Why is purchasing so resistant? Why is engineering? Turns out, doesn't occur to them to the same way it occurs to you. So you use a framework, you start slowly, you start having some conversations, and you slowly replace their paradigms with paradigms that work for where you want to go. And really that's the trick. One foot in front of the other. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But the point is, get started and get started with intention. You can't just get started. You can't walk aimlessly. You have to walk with intention. And so that's the difference between the successful journeys and the non-successful journeys. They know where they're going. They have a plan and they're clear and they're true to their word. And when they violate their word, they clean it up. And then people trust them. And they trust them as leaders. One last thing, they admit when they're wrong. And when people that you're asking to follow you see that you can admit when you're wrong and then move on to something that's right, they will follow you to the end of the world. If you can't admit you're wrong, they will not follow you anywhere. They might follow you once, they might follow you twice, but they're not going to put themselves at risk. Not if they don't think you can admit when you're wrong. And we're all wrong at least 50% of the time. If you read the Toyota way, Chiachi Ono, he said that. He said I'd be impressed if humans were right more than 50% of the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
impressive. I know I am wrong more than that, and I get reminded. But anyway,
I get reminded all the time. I get reminded. I think my rate must be 70% with all the reminders I get. But you have to take that in stride. If you were smart, you hired people who were smarter than you, people who understand when you're making a mistake, and they guide you back in. And if we all make mistakes 50% of the time, if I follow you blindlessly, I'm going to be working on the wrong stuff 50% of the time. So even you as my leader don't want me to do that, so the sooner we can there's all kinds of closets full of stuff, and we just need to empty out those closets so we can get on creating safe, sustainable, successful workplaces.
Terrence, does any of these certifications expire, or is it, one time?
Yeah, they expire. They're on a 3-year basis. You can renew them by doing professional activities, and they've got a whole list of them, but you could present at another conference. You can write an article for a magazine. It doesn't have to be in our network. You can go to a workshop, if you're studying infrared or whatever, that applies towards it. So as long as you're doing related professional development, you have 3 years to do about 30 hours of professional development. And then you can renew, I think it's about a third of the price of the original certification, and it lasts for 3 years. When you retire, when you know, not retire into going into consultancy, but when you retire even from consultancy, you can inform us, and then we put in a lifetime certification, and then you don't have to if you're not, if you're done with your career, we're going to keep your certification for you. We'll mark it lifetime, and then then you don't have to worry about doing all the you can go to Florida and retire.
So you also, I think Renee mentioned this as well, that the IMC, the conference, when is that and where is that going to be held?
December 5th through the 8th. My birthday, December 5th. So come up and join me for some cake. Yeah, I can't get anybody to come to my birthday party, so I do a big conference, and that way everybody's got to come.
Sense.
But no, it's a lot of fun. It's at Marco Island, which is south of Naples, Florida. So if you flew to Fort Lauderdale and you drove straight across west 2 hours, you'd be at Marco Island. It's gorgeous. It's Gulf of Mexico sunsets, the dolphins frolicking. When we first started, they said, big mistake, Terrence. You cannot have a maintenance conference at a beach resort. No one's going to get permission to go. Not only that, it's in December. So freezing, blowing snow in the north of the country. No, they will definitely not send them to a tropical location. And we've always had like 1,500 people coming in. So it's it's the biggest conference around. It's okay for maintenance people to have fun. It turns out it's okay. That's okay. You get to have one, they kind of come and they exhale because it's the end of the year. Whoo, made it through the year, nothing too drastically bad. And, then they look around and they start seeing and hearing, this group's been on their journey for a year. This group's been on it for 7 years. This group's been on it for 15 years. And they're all sort of, not everybody at IMC uses Uptime Elements. So it is a blend of approaches. But there is, you can imagine, there's probably a lot of what you consider to be a lot of Uptime Elements there. So they're sharing frameworks, they're sharing their journeys with each other. So even though Honda makes cars and Bristol Myers Squibb makes life sciences products, they can share the common aspects of the reliability journey, and that's really what's kind of cool. And listen, I've been in as advisors, and I've seen consultants come in, and I've seen their own people talk to them. But when they see somebody else that does their role at another company and they're 3 years ahead of them or 15 years ahead of them, they get motivated. They're like, I see that now. I see that it is doable now. And the context that was constraining them melts away. And they find, it's like when you come to IMC, it's like taking off your glasses and putting on a new prescription. And it's your same problems, your same challenges, your same team, your same everything. But now you see new ways to advance that you weren't able to see before. In fact, we don't even call it a conference. We call it an experience. We really want you to leave there impacted. We really want you to leave there with an action plan. Certainly, we want you to have a nice time. We feed you better than anybody is ever going to feed you. We're in a great location. Our team is the nicest team in the planet.
You're giving them a taste of retirement, right?
And we're giving them that taste. Come on down to Florida. Exactly right. But it's so fun to see the change take place. Some of them now bring teams because, they talk until they're blue in the face at home. But when they bring them down and their team sees it, it's all validated for them. And a lot of them say that's the ones who've been doing it for a long time. This is the 36th year of the conference. They say that was the mark. That was the turning point where the culture started to change because they saw everybody down at the conference. They talked to them, in a way, it kind of seems, like it's a cult of reliability fanatics or something. So in the beginning, it can be a little off-putting because everyone's reliability is the greatest. So eat it for breakfast, eat it for lunch, and, that's what kind of people come to IMC. So when it's new, people are like, what is that? What is all that reliability stuff? But eventually they come around to it. People get excited when they really see what it is. They get excited, and we encourage that. We encourage them to be excited, but that's not something typically people are used to seeing people get excited about. So, ours is a different approach. We're trying to make it interesting. And, it's the audience is getting younger, so we have to make it more interesting, or we'll have no one that's interested in fixing all the robots that are automating the world. We still need fixers. Best business in the world. If you have kids, tell them go into the fixing business, because fixing will always be needed. We humans, we are not going to solve things that are not, that we're not going to have things not need fixing. Everything's always going to need fixing, no matter how automated we get it.
Yeah, and I think, Terrence, that really summarizes, because at the end of the day, I mean, sometimes people ask, why is it so important to keep, updated and make sure that what's going on, whether they're going to be robots, somebody's going to fix the robots, right? Whether they're going to be, drones or whatever it's happening, So I think independently, where you are on your journey, what are you doing, what are your actual challenges? I think it, holds water to be able to always be updated and understand what's going on in the world, especially, as you were saying, it changes so fast.
I think your point is fantastic, because if we weren't aware of that, we didn't stay up to speed with that, we're a reliability leader. But if now we see that we're going to get 10,000 robots, and now instead I'm the robot reliability leader, how demand are you? How in demand are you? You are, so you didn't get trampled by the fact that we got so many robots. You got enhanced, you upskilled, you saw it coming, so you moved your career to ride the wave. I think the people in maintenance, reliability, and asset management are always going to be in demand, but I do think they need to shift, what their skill sets are. And it does have to be, technical. They do have to see this future coming. But the future that's actually here. I mean, again, watch the latest Hexagon video. I mean, it's that future, that wasn't science fiction. That was what's so.
Yep. Terrence, so last question, where can we register for the conference or the experience?
Maintenance conference, thank you. Maintenanceconference.com. And it's sort of got IMC on one side with the Uptime Elements, and it's got Uptime Elements digitalization strategy on the other. So it's with the Reliability 4.0 digitalization conference as well. So those two are together, same price. The CRL and the CMM are going on live in person. So if you want to do a live in person CRL CMM, you can do it while the conference is going on, and then still go see the expo and things of that nature. So that's a nice way to do it. And
so
then
you can register for both the conference and the certifications?
Yes. But you have to, you can only see if it's a certification, you have to spend your time in that one class. But the breaks are all time, so you can do the keynotes and you can do the expo and things of that nature.
Okay. All right. I don't know, any other questions?
Well, come to Reliabilityweb and just sign into the newsletter. We don't really send you much advertising. We sometimes advertise our conferences and stuff. Mostly it's articles, it's videos. We record all of the conferences. So even if you weren't able to come, we bring out 1 to 2 videos from the conference every single week. It's more than a human can actually consume. We have more videos than Netflix does. So, as much reliability as you want all the time, so is there. So, if you sign into the newsletter, you can always opt out. But if you sign in, you can get notified of the articles and the podcasts and the videos and the conferences and the trainings that are coming up. Also, right. I'm sorry, I would be remiss if I didn't say one more. Go to www.maintenance.org. That's the Association of Asset Management Professionals. You can learn about the certification there. If you're certified, you can learn about the recertification requirements. But the best thing you can do is dive into that forum. The forum is really active there, and I really encourage you to dive into that.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much, Terry, for joining us. Renee, always a pleasure. So you can see this one and any other episodes from our EAM experts podcast in our LinkedIn, Twitter, Visual K. We have a blog there, so visualk.com. And you can always see this one and others at YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. So thank you very much for all. I know, Terrence, you are also active on LinkedIn, so You can also reach out to Terrence directly, Terrence O'Hanlon, I think it is.
That's right, Terrence O'Hanlon. You could just type in reliability, you'll probably find me.
Yep.
And
Right next to the Bible, right?
I'm going there right now. I'm going to go find your links. I'm going to go watch our last. I had so much time. I want to go down memory lane and relive our last conversation.
Yep.
It's been awesome, Terrence. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody for joining today. Thanks Ernesto for coordinating the talk. It was very interesting. I think we can continue to go on, and then I'll catch up. Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks
everybody.
all.
Take care.
Bye.